And it's like, it's so interesting. It's so interesting what they pick and choose to be. It's so interesting what they choose to be real about. You know what I mean? What they choose to like take a position on. January 6th, they take a position on it. Like the language that NPR uses when talking about Trump supporters and like their delusions about the election is so clear, right? They very clearly define it as like Trump is wrong for saying the election was stolen, the big lie. They even use words like the big lie. It's across the board. Like every mainstream outlet, with the exception of Fox News, will basically very clearly define January 6th as an insurrection and like devastating, terrible for democracy. And they also talk about like Trump speaking on the election as like stolen as a really messed up thing, right? And I find it very interesting that they have that kind of smoke for January 6th and Trump lying about like the election or whatever, election denial, things like that, like Joe Biden stealing the election. But they never use such I guess like openly biased language when discussing, but they never show moral clarity when discussing genocide in Palestine, right? And I personally find that very interesting. It's just odd when you never hear that with police brutality cases. There's so much neutrality in the language. It's done in a way that leaves you feeling like, did a cop actually shoot someone directly, or did a bullet fly in the vicinity of a person, of an assailant on its own? When it comes to like Israel's ethnic cleansing in Gaza, there is no such. There's so much moral ambiguity. But when it comes to things like January 6th, they're like, this is the death of democracy. Or when it comes to things like Trump's lies about the election, right? Don't forget, a lot of fraternities revealed their true colors in collusion on January 6th. They have not gone away. What do you mean fraternities? Are you talking about like the Proud Boys or something? It goes deep, actually, because a concerning event on TV threatening their establishment matters much more to them than people being slaughtered overseas. Yeah. And it's so strange. Caked Up Bot and Milfound. Caked Up Bot, thank you for the 10. Milfound, thank you for the 5. It almost feels like they don't care about the things that affect people who don't look like them. Okay, but like police brutality does still impact people that look like them. You know what I mean? It's just very interesting that they only have that kind of smoke. They only have that kind of smoke for things that are attacking symbols of democracy and institutions, and never have that kind of attitude for like actual horrifying war crimes. And I find that to be quite devastating. But that is, I guess, part of the reason why, we celebrate days such as this one, you know? Do you think that it's weird that I have the take that the insurrection would be justified if the claims were true? No, I think that the insurrection would be totally justified if the claims were true. It's just that the claims were not true, obviously, and the insurrection was also ridiculously sloppy. Like, there was no discernible goal, no real movement, no real momentum. What is this? There's a funny. It was just like the most perfect American politics moment, dude. It was like they had a Disneyland version of the
What happened to you?
I got maced.
You got maced.
By the police.
And what happened? You were trying to go inside the Capitol?
I made it like a foot inside, and they pushed me out, and they maced me.
What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Elizabeth. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee.
And why did you want to go in?
We're storming the Capitol. It's a revolution.
Yeah. What a classic. I mean, that's definitely the attitude that a lot of these fucking idiots had. You know what I mean? Imagine if the Occupy movement only showed up for one day and one day only, low energy conservatives. Yeah. There was a grassroots mobilization component to this entire thing, but there was also a tremendous amount of astroturfing, which is precisely why you never see that same energy, same momentum whatsoever recreated in any of the Trump events now. Why? Because Turning Point USA isn't busing people from different parts of the country anymore. Why? Well, because, like I said, they are not personally sending in people. And when you don't do that, when you don't pay for people's travel, when you don't astroturf it, you're not going to be able to get that many people out in the streets. In the same way that like real activism, real grassroots activism in the form of like, you know, protesting against police brutality during the George Floyd protests, like that kind of stuff is real. It's always hilarious to me, however, when conservatives project again, like they always do, and say things like, oh, George Soros is paying for people to go out and protest. And it's like, that's not real. You're personally projecting, because that's how it works with conservative movements. There isn't enough mobilization in and of itself on an issue, because why would there be, right? Who is going to mobilize on I guess, like, there isn't enough passion on tax cuts or tort reform or deregulation so that, you know, DuPont Chemical can keep dumping toxic pollutants into your water supply. Those are the things that conservatives actually care about. Like, but you're not going to be able to mobilize on that issue. So you have to find other issues, like social issues, that you can try and mobilize around. But the problem is conservative social issues bring out the sweatiest, worst losers, right? It brings out the worst freaks. Like, we got our own freaks too. We got our most passionate freaks out there on the left. And yeah, sure, those guys are a little crusty. But ultimately, real progressive momentum and progressive mobilization is done on actual tangible harm being done to an entire population, like police brutality. Police brutality brings out a lot of people. Why? Because there's very real people who are impacted by it, and it's a real issue that it's a real cause that you can mobilize on, right? That is precisely the reason why, there is real grassroots mobilization happening on a lot of progressive issues, and there isn't necessarily a lot of grassroots happening on conservative issues, unless you're talking about like Planned Parenthood and the like. But even then, there's a tremendous amount of big money pushing the mobilization on that front too, on abortion, on issues such as that. There's a lot of moneyed interest. The top post of all time on the website that replaced the Donald subreddit is from January 5, and it says, "See you all in DC tomorrow, Patriots," with thousands of deleted comments under it. Really demonstrates the organizational capacity. Will you tell Trunon about Hoscord? Wait, why? What happened in Hoscord? No. Anyway. But yeah, that's why I love and I'm fascinated by January 6th, because it's so incredibly American. It's so perfectly American. It's such a perfect American fuck up in every sense of the word. Like, no real mobilization occurring on boundaries that are just so silly overall. Objective failure. What happens when you bring together the worst small business tyrants from all around the country? Have you read the Epstein documents? Yes. Don't forget the landlords. Yeah, I mean, of course, there were people on PJs and stuff. What is really funny about this is also that, like, the FBI never gave up on it. The FBI never gave up on, like, punishing the January 6th insurrectionists. Like, they still to this day have, I think, 80 people that are persons of interest that they have yet to prosecute. And they've still prosecuted like hundreds. 3 people today were finally prosecuted and arrested. It's awesome. And what ended up happening was originally everybody distanced themselves from it. And 3 days out, not 3 days, sorry. 3 years out from the issue, 3 years out from the madness, we have now officially turned around on it completely. If you look at polling, like, right as it happened, a lot of Republicans were like, this is unacceptable. Like, Mitch McConnell came out and was like, we need to put an end to this madness right now. And then the liberals were like, oh my God, a voice of wisdom. Like, you're so sick, Mitch McConnell. Let's forget that, like, you played a significant role in putting these crazies in positions of power because you just, wanted to do a crazy amount of, you wanted to do all the deregulation you wanted to get away with. I was talking to my dad on the phone, and he was so confused and skeptical about how Capitol Police just let people walk in. I wasn't like, it's going to blow your mind when I tell you about the broader political inclinations of law enforcement profession. Yeah, 100%. This is still the all-time greatest January 6th post. Imagine spending the better part of the last 5 years having your brain and ego melted by uninterrupted /poll exposure, flying to Washington in the middle of a pandemic to hear Trump whine about Oprah and Mike Pence at a rally, marching up to Congress on his orders to smash shit and then mill around aimlessly. You go home and hear that Biden won anyway. All of your favorite Twitter news sources named like Patriot Newsman of the West with avatars of Roman statues have posted your photo online and are labeling you a gay communist Antifa actor. Then the next day, the God Emperor you pasted into Warhammer memes puts out a video cucking himself and bending the knee. I'm sorry, those were heinous acts, but please let me tweet again, Jack. You can't leave D.C. because the airlines have dubbed you a flight risk. You can't stay because the cops are actively looking for you after one of their own died. Your roommate at the only hotel that would accept you is a guy named Base Kekistani 1488 who wants to show you his Goblin Slayer torrents. The sun is going down and you're getting cold. Yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, it is. It's totally awesome. And it was wonderful. And yet, the hilarious part about this is that Trump very clearly demonstrated that he did not care about these people whatsoever, and like has only now, once years have gone by, basically, he's only now going back on it and being like, well, they're political prisoners and we must free them. So it's such a classic political opportunist moment. Like, he is just a pawn thing. Also, here's another great one. Seattle PD fires husband-wife duo who were at the Capitol on January 6th. This was another great one. January 6th rioter nabbed in Bumble dating app. Sting pleads guilty to assaulting officers. There's Hasanabi heads who outed their dad and got their dad into criminal trouble. That's like, this is a real thing. That's a real, yeah. Hasanabi heads that snitched on their own parents. That was pretty funny. Andrew Taake was turned in by a Bumble user who used a dating app to elicit confessions from Donald Trump supporters who took part in a Capitol attack. Anyway, he gave like $10,000 raised not from his own money to legal aid. Oh, that's the other thing. He only gave 10 grand to legal aid. $10,000 only. Dude, I have given so much more to like random GoFundMes, okay, than Donald Trump has given to his own political movement. It's so awesome. It's not even his own money, I don't think. 10 grand from like campaign funds, I think, maybe. Not even his own personal funds. You know the girls love hearing about your location on January 6, 2021. Yeah, I mean, I raised like $3 million, but I gave more to the BLM funds out of pocket. You know what I mean? Yeah.
A federal judge has sentenced a January 6th rioter. Joining us now is Guy Reffitt's son, Jackson Reffitt.
He's literally wearing my merch in this. He's got the Hideo Kojima Metal Gear Solid poster and wearing the Hasanabi merch. The Hasanabi Bernie merch.
I'm not happy at all, and I haven't been happy through this whole situation. No one in my family has either. But to say I'm surprised would be a lie. I mean,
yeah. That's awesome. I wonder if he still is a Hasanabi head or if he's like, I wonder if he's still a fan or if he's like one of the fallen fans. God, that is so H3H3 coded that we have just like fallen fans as well. What? Why do you have the box context on YouTube? This is because it's about January 6th. There's like automatic context boxes on stuff like vaccines and January 6th, like things that liberals care about. What is H3H3 coded to have so many fallen fans? He has a lot of fallen fans too. Do you know of any revived fallen fans? I don't know. Jam Nilla, thank you for the 5 gifted. There was one on your vid about CRT. My video about CRT. There was a fallen fan about a video that made a video about my CRT takes. I blasted off already, chatter, but thank you. Talking about. There was one. Oh yeah, there was a fallen fan who came back and became a fan again after, but it took like so much. It took so much for him. Like there was a dude who used to be a fan who started hating me when I was like anti-gambling. There was a dude who used to be a fan, started hating me because I was anti-gambling, and then they lost all of their money and like fucked up their life and had to go to rehab. And then after they went to rehab, they came back and were like, I was, you know, it's embarrassing, but I was so wrong that you were just simply trying to like help me and others like me out. Kind of weird to be angry at you for anti-gambling. Brother, what are you talking about? There is a ginormous chunk of like broader Twitch community watchers who will never watch me ever again because of my anti-gambling takes. My anti-gambling takes that ended up getting their favorite content creators like fat bags really from a totally separate website that was designed after Twitch banned kick gambling or stake gambling. People aren't just pro gambling because they're like deeply addicted, and people are also pro defending gambling because their favorite content creator is. You know what I mean? That's usually what it is. What's the argument for gambling? There is no argument for gambling. It's just like, I like it and you should shut up. I like it and my favorite content creator likes it. And also, what about hot tub streams? Anyway, yeah, Liz is not coming on today, of course, because she's always busy, but Brace is coming on later. But regardless, they've already sold out of their True Anon January 6th board game. Do you read outside of your streams? Curious as to how you are so up to date? Yes, all the time, nonstop. Okay, our bad. We sold out in less than 20 minutes, but Patriots in control. We will have more available at 11 a.m. PT, 2 p.m. ET. These will ship in February. I think this also sold out, I assume. Do I have a copy of the game? I think Brace is getting me one specifically. If you're curious, that person who turned his father for January 6th Kojima fan is still a fan of yours via their Twitter. Oh, thank God. I was worried that it was going to be like a fallen fan situation because they hate my foreign policy takes or something. That's usually the other like big part. The video of the board game is great. This is their board game. Available January 6th at trueanon.com/STC. Storm the Capitol, the board game starring John Early, Chloe Cherry, Cole Escola, Lawrence Servito, Adam Friedland.
That's Zelensky. What cojones, huh?
Some people are saying cojones are the problem.
Oh, you guys are so toxic. I can't.
Wait, isn't that literally like former porn star, Euphoria actress, Chloe Cherry? Isn't that? This blows my. It's so weird when like friends of mine make content and they just like randomly and casually have like super famous people that are in their fan base / know them. Like, it's the same thing when I found out about the Maddie Healy situation. I was like, what the hell? Like, why? It's so weird.
wait till you die so I can move to Berlin.
Fuck! Why does every game suck?
Roll those dice, buddy.
Based on real events, Storm the Capitol is a real game you can buy.
We met January 6th.
6, 7, 8.
Taser. I'm the thin blue line.
Not as thin as she used to be.
Drum roll.
20 ballots!
20 ballots! Vaccine canceled, Pelosi!
I got AOC's shoes.
Hey, give me those!
Chuck Schumer is a lizard person? I thought he was white.
Oh my God.
Storm the Capitol, the board game. Available January 6th at truanon.com.
First of all, damn, even fetish content? Yeah, dog, what do you mean? All of this is a fetish.
I win!
I think the goal is like one player is a cop and then the rest of them are rioters. It is very well produced, yeah. Why do you need the game considering you were the Antifa lone member that conservatives say were at January 6th Lamau? No. It's to replay it. I mean, this is not supposed to be serious, guys. This is like supposed to, it's making jokes. What is this? The right-wing podcast called TrueAnon has created the game Storm the Capitol. Wait, what? They called TrueAnon a right-wing podcast? That's awesome. The ad that they put in front of the most recent Chapo, it was good. Yeah, I saw that. That was really good too. Yeah, I want to relive the greatest day of my life, January 6th, when I was at the Capitol storming.
I'm telling you, if they put the genius into running our country,
oh God,
it would be.
He looks like
I
shit.
probably wouldn't be running. I'd say the country's a fine-tuned machine, but they don't. They're evil.
Oh
they're basically
God,
evil people.
bro, he
But
looks
they
so
lie about
burnt.
us, and Americans aren't going to stand for it. So it's no wonder the same corrupt forces that have been fighting us every step of the way, and they are fighting every step of the way and everything now, breaking every rule and shattering every norm in a lawless attempt to keep us from defeating them at the ballot box. They can't beat us with the vote. They know that. They didn't beat us the last time with the vote. You get the highest number of history, and
it's
you
still
lose.
stolen, baby.
Where is John McLaughlin? Is he here? The great John McLaughlin. You know, he's the great pollster, the greatest pollster in the world. He's here. I know he's here. He's probably backstage. But he told me, wow, did you do great? And I said, well, but, you know, things happen. Even the polling, they had me down 19 points in Wisconsin, but I just left Wisconsin, and I could see that we were doing so great. But they had me down, the Washington Post, ABC Fake News. And I was down 19 points. And I said, I can't be. I just left. The people are going crazy. They love us. I said, why would they do 19 if they were going to cheat? Why don't you do 4 or 5, and it gives them credibility for the next election? He said to me, they don't care about the next election. If you do 19 points down, people won't vote. If you do 4 or 5 points down, people will vote because you have a chance. And it turned out I won the state.
Yeah, we know the magnets
And
thing.
yet I had this poll. And what they do is they do it to suppress the vote.
God,
There are
sick.
so many different things. I mean, I have a head full of things. You could talk all day long about it. It's interesting. But, you know, they say you're down. And if you're down enough, think of it. Why don't they do 4 or 5? Because people will vote for that, but they won't vote at 19 for that. Even if they love you, they'll stay home because they say, we don't want it. It's too cold. That's
dude,
why.
I'm sorry. Felix said the exact same thing. I'm going to read it about the Bass Pro Shop. He said, a guy with this small of a resting. This is why a lot of people are always like, oh, Hassan, I heard this take on Chapo. And I'm like, bitch, I said it before they did. What do you mean? Half the time. Okay. Here's another indication. Here's another instance of like parallel thinking that happened in identical moments. Remember how I was talking about the Bass Pro Shop guy being super brave? Felix says, a guy with this small of a resting dick state doing this is really brave. I know it sends a bad message, but I sort of think they should give him a medal. You definitely shouldn't go to a place where people are taking their families and show your really small dick, but still. He said the exact same thing 2 minutes ago. John Manila, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Because, you know why he said the exact same thing that I said? Okay, for the Bass Pro Shop hero, who should be, when I say we need to free the prisoners, when I say we need to free the political prisoners, I'm talking about the Bass Pro Shop guy. Make no mistake. The shopper, the Bass Pro Shop shopper who dove into the aquarium with his dick out, with his tiny dick. You know why Felix had the same exact take that I did? Because it's the right one. It's the only one. Fellas, if you have a tiny dick, if you're a fucking grower and not a shower, okay, especially, and you put yourself in a cold environment, if you put yourself in a cold environment, you're a hero. You're doing a lot for growers out there. Many growers do not have the courage, do not have the bravery to be able to show their penis in a cold environment like that. Stop being a joke thief. This is stolen valor. Yes, I stole Felix's joke by using my time machine. John Manila, thank you for the 20 gifted subs. Goddamn. Anyway, let's get back to Donald Trump, who is kind of low energy and looks a little Ozempic.
Be interesting to watch the election. Be boring. It would be very boring by comparison.
His penis is so small, I feel like I could show it on stream and it would not be like censored, except like, you know, it would be like a boogie situation. I would get
to see what's
TOS.
happened has been really amazing. But I loved when they said it, that the worse the weather, the better, because we're not going to lose. They said they'll walk. He used the expression, they'll walk on glass. They don't care what about. It's going to be a little bit cold that night. In the new Morning Consult poll, we're trouncing the Republican primary field with Trump at 66, just came out, DeSanctimonious at 11, and Haley at 11, so they're tied now. We're also leading big, and you know, the Des Moines Register was a fantastic poll that came out. And I only say fantastic if we're leading by a lot. If we're not leading by a lot, I either don't talk about it or discredit the poll. That poll doesn't mean a thing. But the Des Moines Register is a very respected poll. The woman that runs it is very respected, and that was a number that, you know, they haven't even seen before. We're also leading big here in Iowa, but we're taking nothing for granted because we want you to get out and vote. The general election, we're crushing Crooked Joe by historic margins in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Ohio, Florida, and virtually every other state. You know, they want this one narrative out. I was telling you before, they want to say, we really want to run against Trump, because that's what I'd say too. Because it looks like they have no choice, you know, number one. But we really want to run against Trump because that's demeaning to me. And, you know, it's like, oh, they want to run against me. Now, if you look at the polls, actually, she's losing to Biden almost every. She had one poll that looked good, but it was a Fox poll, of course. But other than that, she's getting killed. And he's getting killed by Biden. Hard to believe you can be losing to Biden, to be honest with you. But it's just it's a party thing. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election of 2020, and we're not going to let them rig the presidential election of 2024. We're not going to let them do it. We're not going to let them do it, right? These people are bad. They're evil. Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. I really do. I'm being indicted for you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I wonder what my parents would say as they looked down. I said, my kid was indicted 4 times. I wonder if anybody in the country's ever been indicted that many times. I don't think so. I mean, how many times you get indicted once or twice if you kill people, but then you get put in jail so you don't get indicted after that, right? Of course, in this country, you don't get put in jail. If you're a certain person, you don't even get in trouble if you kill people.
I don't know what he's trying to say.
They put you in jail. Look at what's happened with the J6 hostages. The hostages, that's a horrible thing. And yet Antifa knocks down Portland, destroys Portland. If I didn't put soldiers into Minneapolis, you wouldn't have that city left. Remember the CNN reporter standing there saying, this is a friendly protest. And behind him, the entire city is burning. It's as long, the entire city is burning down. Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. That's what's happening. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way. That's true, actually.
Ooh, he did it.
But this
Yo,
is
that's
far
my
more
man.
than a campaign. This is the greatest political movement in the history of our country. Not, maybe in the history of the world, but let's just take our country. That's okay. Together we
This
ended
fucking
the
coward.
NAFTA
He
disaster
left.
where
He
you were
left the
getting
people
ripped off,
behind,
and
brother.
especially the
He left
farmers
his
in
patriots
Iowa.
behind.
That was a
Patriots
horrible thing.
Patriots
You know why I
rose
know
up for
that
him,
USMCA is
and
so
he
good?
left
Because
them
they're trying,
behind.
Canada
Never
and Mexico
forgive.
are trying
Never
desperately
forget,
to
brother. I know
renegotiate
we
the
all
deal,
love
so
him.
Don't do it. They shouldn't do
But
it.
the reality
But it's the
is, he
best
did
trade
do us
deal this
harm.
ever made. Actually, the deal I made with China might even be better.
He didn't
And I made
even-
a great
he
deal
didn't
with
even
Japan.
pardon
I had a
any of
break a
our-
deal with.
He didn't pardon none of the
Bobby.
political
He was a
prisoners.
great man. He was assassinated, but he was great. He was such
pardoned
a great guy,
random
such a
rich
great leader.
people.
They loved him in Japan. But I went to him. I said, Shinzo, this deal is crazy. He said, I knew you'd be coming to me next. They lived with it for
Shinzo.
25 years, ripping off our country. And he looks at me and goes,
Rest
he
in
didn't say
peace,
like, we
Shinzo.
could. He said, all right. And I renegotiated the whole deal. He said, I knew you'd be coming to us. Billions, and we're talking billions of dollars. I took on communist China like no administration in history, bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars and pouring it into our treasury when no other president had gotten 10 cents from China. Not one president got anything from China. And they wouldn't ask. I don't know what it is. It's like hard to believe. But just as I took in hundreds of billions of dollars. I would say they weren't fond of me. That's why a lot of people think that what happened with COVID or China virus was, a plan. I just don't think that. I think it was incompetence. I think the scientist came out to have lunch with his girlfriend, and she died, and then all of a sudden other people, and it just grew. I believe that was what happened, but who knows? I also said right from the beginning that I picked the location, right? I picked that location. I said, that's where the lab. It was the lab, and I mean, I knew certain things.
I
that
invented
maybe
this,
other
by the
people
way. I'm
didn't, but
sorry.
It was a terrible thing. $50 trillion to the world. The world, many places were much harder hit than we were, and just nobody knew. This was like the hidden enemy. You couldn't find it. Wuhan. I said it comes from the lab in Wuhan. They said no, it comes from. First, they tried to blame France, and they tried to blame Italy. Remember, they tried to blame everybody. Then they said it comes from bats 2,000 miles away. I said, no, it comes from Wuhan. It comes from your stinking lab. But just as I promised, I also stood up for
But he also
ethanol,
glazes Xi up.
and I issued
So
a
like that
historic
also
local
doesn't
code,
make
the
sense at
E15,
all. But I
would
guess
be
like
made available.
cognitive bias or like the lack of clarity here and the inconsistencies is par for the course, because he will glaze Xi all the time. He's like, he loves it. Cognitive dissonance. Yes, this is the word I was thinking of. He'll glaze Xi up while simultaneously saying things such as, he did Wuhan, he did the flu.
Better. The new stuff has so many environmental computers on it. You have to go to MIT, like my uncle. Go to Dr. John Trump, the longest-serving professor in the history of MIT, Dr. John Trump. Think of it. You think Biden has that in his family? I don't think so. I don't think so. He may have, but it'll be a shock. Ron DeSantis spent his entire career as a raging opponent of ethanol, and he will destroy ethanol. He was totally against it. Now, all of a sudden, a couple of weeks ago, he came out in favor of ethanol, when the election's over. But I will protect ethanol just the way I did for 4 years in the White House. Everybody would come to me from Iowa. They were saying ethanol was really going to be dead. They were going to kill it. And I saved it. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after we win the presidency, because it's we, not I, but after we win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. I know both of them very well. Ron DeSanctimonious, Nikki Haley will never end the endless wars. They want the endless wars in a certain way. They don't even know it, because they're both bought and paid for by the neocons and the warmongers and the corrupt Washington establishment, the military establishment. And they've never seen a war that they didn't like. Look at their stances on these things. It's ridiculous. Countries that don't want us there, countries that you've never even heard of. And we're losing our blood and we're losing our treasure doing this all over the world. We want to protect our country. And those domes are starting to work. I didn't like it when Ronald Reagan suggested it because we didn't have the technology. We do have the technology now. And we're going to build a giant dome over our country to protect us from a hostile source, and I think it's a great thing, and it's going to be made in the
what is
United
happening?
States, and that's something that I consider
Wait,
productive. You know, when I watch our guys operate those things, it's unbelievable. Missile coming in, missile coming in. These geniuses sit down. Most of them are, you know, they're
Does
from
Donald
MIT.
Trump think that America doesn't have like an identical system to the Iron Dome already in the United States of America? He was literally the president.
I mean, isn't that
Does
better?
Donald Trump legitimately think we do not have a like anti-missile defense system around the country? This is
Now we
crazy.
have
Unless
the
he means like a
technology. We
physical
have
dome.
Unbelievable technology. Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis both want to send your hard-earned money to bankroll endless conflict overseas. Just take a look at their votes. Take a look at Ron when he was a congressman. He had everything just as much as
he's
they
ripping
wanted.
him. He's ripping him. Ooh.
Well, they support real cutting of benefits, substantial cutting of your benefits and services for American citizens, especially for seniors. Under my leadership, we will turn the page forever on those foolish, stupid days of never-ending wars. They never ended. We're in Iraq for 21 years. We're in Afghanistan for 19 years. And we don't even fight to win. If you're going to be in, you got to fight to win. Remember in Iraq, I was a civilian then. But I used to say very strongly, I used to say, don't go in, don't go in, don't go in. But if you do go in, keep the oil. Well, you know who has the oil right now? That was one of the dumbest wars ever. Iraq and Iran were the same. They were the same power. You had Saddam Hussein, and I will say, they hung that sucker, and he looked at him and he spit in their face. You know, he wasn't begging. He wasn't saying, please don't do this to me. He spit right in their face, but, you know, tough guy. But you had Iraq and Iran, and they were almost identical. For 1,000 years, with different names, they've been fighting each other. And one would move 3 feet this way, and then they'd move 3. But we didn't have to do anything because they basically, then they'd stop. They'd be exhausted after 3 or 4 years. Then they'd start. This went on for hundreds of years. Then we go in and we obliterate one side, and now the other side's a great power. We should have never done that. We should have never gone into the Middle East. We should have never gone into the Middle East. And we didn't need to. We were in the Middle East for one very strong reason. We needed their oil. But we have more oil than they have.
Trump arc.
But we didn't use it. And maybe we didn't even know that. Maybe we didn't even know how much we have. But we have far more oil than they have. But we were in it for the oil. And we have to protect Israel, too. Second reason, we have to protect Israel.
Hell yeah, brother.
Let's even say that's the first reason. Maybe I'll say that's the first reason. Because we don't need their oil. It's funny, when, you know, you were totally energy independent under me. We're going to be energy dominant within a matter of months. We're going to be dominant all over the world. We were dominant. We went to #1. We were in 4th place. And after about a year and a half, we were #1. We passed Russia and we passed Saudi Arabia by a lot. But we were going to be #1 for a long time. We were going to make so much money with that oil. We were going to send it all over. It's going to be great. Now these lunatic, radical left, Green New Deal scammers are, you know, the concept of oil is just so. It's our greatest form of wealth. I mean, what you can do with that, you'll pay off your $35 trillion in debt. You'll do things that you wouldn't have even believed possible. And we have the best oil, too. You know, it's not just the quantity. We have the best. Canada has a lot, but it's very similar to Venezuela. It's tar, you know, it's called the sand dunes. And it's a very expensive process to refine it. But we have the best oil. We have the most oil. We will restore peace through strength. It can be done through strength. You don't have to necessarily send people to die. You have to be prepared to do things, but I think it'd be very unlikely we'd ever have to do it. I'll end Biden's inflation nightmare, save our nation from debt.
I think there is very little percentage chance that anyone in this room is just like listening at this point and going, wow, he's so right. He's so real. I love him. There's just no way.
Something that nobody has. China doesn't have it. China has everything they need for batteries, but they don't have a thing called gasoline. And yet we're going to go away from that, and we're going to go right into the hands of China. How stupid are we? How stupid. On day one, I will also cancel crooked Joe Biden's insane ethanol-killing electric vehicle mandate.
Now, that they care about.
They don't go far.
It's Iowa, baby. It's corn country. They care about that.
I'd like to give you a much more complex. You know, I like dealing in complexity, but I'd like to give you a much more complex.
They know that. They're like, hell yeah, ethanol, baby, more corn. More corn subsidies, please.
Let's drive down and get some potatoes from Idaho. Well, sir, that'll be about 6 stops. Where's there a charger? Sir, there's a charger. We have to go approximately 100 miles up here. It's the craziest thing, I tell you, these people. And they want to take away your gas stoves. You know, I have friends, they cook. A lot of people cook, and they like gas better. I don't know if it's better or not, but it seems to be better.
It's better.
They want to take them away. We're going to end all of that stuff on day one.
Don't take it away, brother. Hey.
The car man.
You can pry my gas stove off
and
of
if you
my
want to buy electric, you can buy electric.
Hands, brother.
You'll also
Are
buy
you fucking kidding
combustion
me?
engines, gasoline.
You better not come for that goddamn gas
You'll have
stove.
the combination, which is fine too. I like the combination actually better than I like all electric. But just as I did before, I'll appoint strong, highly qualified pro-Constitution Supreme Court justices who will interpret the law as written. And I'll direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical, out-of-control prosecutor in America for their illegal, racist, and reverse enforcement of the law. And also, we're going to indemnify all police officers and law enforcement officials. I've met a lot of great ones back there, all throughout the United States, to protect them from being destroyed by the radical left lunatics that are running our cities and states, for taking strong actions on crime, because they can stop this crime.
Not me, though. They're the loonies.
Somebody told me the other day.
We're normal.
We have these stores in New York. You'd love to go. I used to love to go to them. You did like drugstores and grocery stores. Everything's now got glass on top. You want to buy aspirin, and you have to call a clerk, which takes you an hour. They come over, they open it. They open a door, and they give you and then they close it. Because if they leave the shelves open, the place will be raided. I mean, would anybody even think that's possible? We have to bring back law and order in our country.
How do people listen to this and think Biden is incoherent? Because Biden can't go off the cuff like this.
Into beacons of hope, safety, and beauty.
What do you mean?
Better than they've ever been.
This is top dome. He's spitting top dome. He has like a teleprompter, but he's like freestyling on top of that. The problem is, I've said this already, Donald Trump is delusional, okay? But he's not delirious. Donald Trump is delusional. Biden is delirious. That's the difference. Donald Trump has been delusional from the jump. He's never been normal. His commentary has always been insane. Biden, on the other hand, comes across as, or is supposed to be the sane voice, because like when you listen to the Biden, when he can get his message out, yeah, it's a normal message. It's a good message even, right? Does he follow through on it? Well, that's besides the point. But if we're just simply looking at the optics of the situation, Donald Trump is insane but coherent. Biden is incoherent but sane. And unfortunately, when you are less coherent than the other party, ultimately, you know, they're looking at it and they're thinking you're not fit enough. And there's this narrative now where people are just like, where is this coming from? That people say Biden is like demented. Biden is demented. Is like, I wonder where this narrative is coming from. And it's like, bro, from our eyes and ears and brains that we see, like I'm sorry, this guy is insane, but he's very charismatic to an audience of equally insane people. People hear what he has to say and go, I like that. I'm so glad he's talking about the things that matter to me. Casing, like plastic windows that protect, I don't know, plastic windows that stop roving gangs of thugs from stealing laundry detergent at CVS. And I'm in Iowa, in a town with 15,000 people. And of course, I never see that, but I see it on television. There's no black people in my vicinity, but I'm scared of black people, and I see it on television, and I'm afraid of what's going on, because in my mind, in big cities, like, that's what's happening. Black people are getting together, and they're creating gangs to specifically steal laundry detergent from the CVS. That's the way these guys operate. They think that that is a real thing that's going on, and Donald Trump does a very good job of like effectively communicating that to his audience. You know what I mean? And
the women that fight are very tough too. They fight against each other, but boy, That will be a terrible thing. But they want, that's what they're fighting. They want them to fight. Look at the weightlifting. You know, the weightlifting came out. The record's like 150 pounds more. You know, I do it.
Trump is insane and incoherent. Biden is sane depending on policies and sometimes sounds old, but I don't think he's incoherent for the most part. No, I think Biden is definitely.
But, you know, not presidential.
No, this is a big fissure in this community between like liberals and myself, like more lib adjacent community members of myself. Like, it's crazy that, like, I'm not going to sit here and act like what Donald Trump is saying is, like, good, okay, reasonable, or even sane. But on the Dementia Olympics, if we're looking at Brandon versus Trump, yeah, Donald Trump comes across as more coherent. Donald Trump also has been doing nonstop campaign stops again.
And they say, have you lifted before? No, I haven't.
If you want to compare Biden's current energy to where he used to be, look at how well of a retail politician Biden used to be. Back in the day, yeah, I know, I missed the Trump doing the moan, the transphobic weightlifting thing. He's doing the transphobia part of his rhetoric.
Fighting is, can you imagine that? It'd be horrible. It's a horrible thing. A horrible thing. It's everybody knows. Look at some of these track and field records, you know. They're knocking them out by, like the swimmer. It lasted 16 years. She wants to swim. She's a great all-American swimmer. She looks left, she looks right, she looks left. All her friends, she's been growing up with these people.
Like, you know, do you guys understand what I mean by this? Like, how do I describe it better? I have to sneeze. Oh, God. Hold on.
It's got a bigger wingspan.
Never mind.
And I always say, in a joking manner, she suffered a terrible tragedy. She was very badly injured, right? Because he went by her so fast that she got tremendous wind burn, you know? He's going by her at a level. No, the whole thing, and he broke the record by many seconds. You know, this is a thing that stood like 1/100th of a second. And, you know, they break it by like 19 seconds. The whole thing, can you imagine that you have to say you're going to keep men out of women's sports? Who would think that that's even possible to say? It's just crazy. And these radical left lunatics are really into it. They really think it's like a good thing. I don't get it. You'll have to, he was a big
like football. The normal person in this situation, like a relatively more charismatic individual, should look at this and go, do you think this is actually harmful to the country? Republicans want you to be mad at this because they have nothing else going on. Republican politicians steal money directly out of your pockets and give it back to those mega corporations that take away, that don't pay their fair share and take advantage of you and don't pay you fairly, okay? And the only way that the Republican Party can keep defending those guys is if they make you feel angry about some random trans girl that was at a swim meet 3 years ago. Who cares about this stuff? Let's not be ridiculous, okay? It's ridiculous. That's the greatest way to counter this narrative because that is the normie narrative. Normal people do not spend this much time thinking about like one trans girl in Arkansas, okay? And even Trump knows that. But the difference is Trump also knows that his audience is getting smaller and smaller, I guess, of his like diehard supporters. So ultimately, he has to cater to that base as best as possible because that base is going to carry him across the finish line in the primaries. Okay? And that's it. Biden is the grandpa you avoid during Christmas. Trump is the grandpa you sit with because he can tweet about what he says. Because you can tweet about what he says. Yeah. Well, you see, it's a big deal to me because I don't want to play video games with trans people. Oh, okay, got it.
Right, but it's nothing like this. And he didn't have people coming in from prisons and mental institutions. He just had people coming in. So if you want to save America from crooked Joe Biden, then get every patriot you know, make sure they're registered Republicans and get them out to vote in their local precinct caucus and you got to do this.
Oh, the thing I was going to say is, like, mental clarity and mental acuity is demonstrated not through age at this point, but through the way you talk. What I mean by that is you look at Donald Trump and you look at Bernie Sanders and you look at Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders is the oldest guy in the bunch. Bernie Sanders also has the most energy and the most mental clarity out of the three. Right? I know I'm upset at him on the Israel stuff, but like ultimately, when you have all three of them side by side, if they are having a conversation, it's Bernie number 1, Trump number 2, Joe Biden number 3 on their performance overall. That's it. So it's not necessarily just about age either. It's not just about age either. As a matter of fact, it's barely about age in this circumstance. It's more so something that you watch. What? Hassan, you should unironically consider leaving this world in a game. You're disingenuous little rat. You lie about everything, do no research, and are just as bad as Ben Shapiro in every way possible, except for the slight difference in intelligence between you two. I want to investigate stuff like this. I do legitimately want to understand like how someone who is a liberal, supposedly, has such like this level of disdain for someone like myself. I'm not, New Year's resolution, I'm not getting mad at this person at all. But I do want to, like, I legitimately want to know, like, how someone who is ostensibly a liberal, like, I assume this guy hates Ben Shapiro, right? Like, how a person like this is this genuinely aggressive and, like, this mad. You know what I mean? As someone like myself. Because when push comes to shove, I assume we're on the same side of the political spectrum. So I legitimately don't get it. Because like if this guy hates Ben Shapiro, right? You're just as bad as Ben Shapiro. He's using Ben Shapiro as a negative. How did you arrive at something? How did you arrive at so much anger for someone like myself when I most likely dump on Ben Shapiro and yell about Ben Shapiro a lot more than whichever content creator that you're following, who rarely ever talks about Ben Shapiro and probably spends a lot more time claiming that they're progressive and then talks about other people who are progressive. You know what I mean? That's the difference. Like you've been duped into thinking that you are advocating for progressive causes while simultaneously the number one cause you're advocating for is basically yelling at those who you consider to be bad for the left. He's either 12 or 30. Their profile links to their YouTube where they make TF2 videos. Nice. I mean, I hope your TF2 videos bang. I hope they pop off. Brother, he literally wants you to unalive yourself. Yeah, I mean, that part doesn't matter. You guys are crazy if you think that, like, come on. He told me to kill myself in a video game. That is the most, like, I hear that 8 times when I wake up in the morning. You know what I mean? I think sending that message a minute after the follow age requirement just shows that they're not a serious person. They had that ready to go, maybe from a group of friends. Well, my point is this. Even if that person who unfollowed immediately after that, I guess, like, even if he's still in here, or even if there are other people like that in here that feel that way, right? I want you to ask yourself why. How did you arrive at this conclusion? Like, what made you think in your world, legitimately, I'm fascinated by this. Ideologically speaking, what happened in your universe, in your mind, where you decided that you are a liberal, you decided that you are a progressive, you consider yourself a liberal, you're excited to vote for Joe Biden, right? And simultaneously, you understandably don't like Ben Shapiro for that reason because he goes against everything that you believe, right? But it got you to a point where you hate someone like myself almost as much as Ben Shapiro, if not more than Ben Shapiro. It's very interesting, and I want to comprehend where, like, I want to understand where that comes from, right? What's happening here? No, he's just ending it. I don't want to say they have no clear principles. They're unserious, terminally online people. I don't want to. Being more open-minded in the new year, which is my resolution, and not yelling at random chatters, no matter how uncharitable they are, is a part about you know, I need to follow through on that. I said I was going to do that, and I am going to do that, and I'm doing that right now. So when I talk about this with, you know, clear conscience and talk about things like this in a very calm manner, it's fine. It's very different than me, like, you know, getting mad at this person. Yeah, but they think and they follow and support you, but they are torn because they're invested in you, but you're losing followers and it bothers them. Who are you talking about? What? I think some people are mad at you. It's complicated. They like you, but they're upset you are losing viewership. I think I explained that right. What? I don't think anybody cares about that at all. What? I don't think that's correct. They're looking to get that negative reaction, so you handled it awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I wish I could understand the psychology of a person like that, because I legitimately do want to know. It's one of the only ways to make it happen less, just how the internet works. No matter how right you are, if you're mad at all, you lost. Yeah, 100%. But like I said, ultimately it is fascinating to me when people
They had apps that didn't work.
When people are like, I'm a liberal. When people are like, I'm a liberal, I love being a liberal, I'm a progressive person, and then they come to a community like this one, right, that is, I guess, like 100% of the way on board with their ideals, right? Like infinitely closer to their opinions than anywhere else online, most likely, and go, you're the villain, you're the problem, you are what is like responsible for the downfall of American civilization. And it's just like always shocking to me that people care more about like being a progressive and care more about yelling at other people that are progressive. What? That's what it feels like. I've heard it from followers that don't follow anymore. They'd be like, I like him, but he's not following through on what he used to be. So they're going farther left and they don't like what their boy Haas isn't what they fell in love with. Yeah, I think you made an alt account to say silly things like this. I don't think that this is correct. That's not a real thing. I don't know who would be more further left than me, but beyond that, I think I have been incredibly consistent on my foreign policy takes, incredibly consistent on my domestic policy takes for the past 10 years, which is why I would suspect that people that, you know, leave or for that reason, for example, I would assume that they're leaving because they think they misunderstood where I was coming from originally. Do you think Sam Cedar's more left than you? No, of course not. There are way too many people who think that you and your audience are worse for the world than like Fox News and the rhetoric. Yeah, those people are unfortunately extremely online. That's the whole point. You know what I mean? That's it. If all your haters were fixating on someone like Matt Walsh, it might even be enough to de-idolize them. Yeah, I would like to know what that person means by further left. I suspect that they think like, you know, being pro-Israel is more progressive than being pro-Palestine in this situation. Like, I think that's what it is. It's the same principle behind John Fetterman, right? Which is what I saw a tweet about this earlier, where it was like, John Fetterman simultaneously supporting Israel because Israel is more progressive than Palestine. John Fetterman also simultaneously saying that he is not a progressive. And it's like, how is he hitting both of those buttons? How does that work, right? Like, he's simultaneously saying he's not progressive and you shouldn't think he's progressive, but also saying Israel is more progressive than Palestine, and that's why he supports Israel. Not further left. What? They're liberals, right-wing, and all the rest of the world only consider leftists in the U.S. Yeah. A lot of these guys are formerly alt-right, newly liberal, terminally online man babies. The PP types that think themselves as edgy liberalism is the way. I think so, too. No, this person went back on the further left thing. He said, "I don't agree with them either. I don't know what they where they actually went. It's confusing. Like where else they go? Not further left. That's wrong. No, you're not further left, but someplace else. Okay, so you're just making stuff up. It seems. Anyway, on this beautiful, glorious America Day, we continue our celebration, folks. Here is Donald Trump talking about magnets.
It didn't work. They had an almost $1 billion cost overrun on the magnetic elevators. Think of it, magnets. Now, all I know about magnets is this. Give me a glass of water. Let me drop it on the magnets. That's the end of the magnets. Why didn't they use John Deere? Why didn't they bring in the John Deere people? Do you like John Deere? I like John Deere. It didn't work. They had an almost $1 billion cost overrun on the magnetic elevators. Think of it, magnets. Now, all I know about magnets is this. Give me a glass of water. Let me drop it on the magnets. That's the end of the magnets.
That's it. It's over. He's right. He's right. Magnets. How do they work? You drop water on them, it breaks. I also think Islamophobia plays into it a lot, including their perceptions of you. A lot of negative perceptions of Muslim men are that they aren't intelligent, so people are quick to think you're stupid. No, I think people... I don't think people immediately assume that I'm Muslim. I think Islamophobia plays in a different direction. But no, I think people think I'm stupid because, one, I say I'm stupid all the time. And two, I think it's because there are a ton of content out there saying I'm stupid and hot. I'm just hot and stupid. Yeah. You're just stupid. Keg W. Well, I mean, smart enough to get you to subscribe for 3 months and avoid ad breaks at the top of the hour. You know what I mean? What does that say to you? Because at the top of the hour, there are ad breaks. That's right. 3 minutes of them. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. For $5 or free with a Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon account to your Twitch account, you get one free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. Favorite stupid broadcaster. My roommate gets so mad every time they see me watching you. They hate Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson, but hate you more. They aren't terminally online, just a neolib that thinks Econ 101 is the gospel. I think Chad is terminally online and thinks everyone else is. These people aren't. They only see you on YouTube Shorts. I think a lot of liberals think you didn't condemn Hamas enough. Yeah. Anyway, like that Trump magnet situation is a perfect distillation of all of the things I say about his commentary, right? It doesn't make any sense. It's incorrect information, but it's still delivered in like a funny way. And his audience is also stupid as hell. And they think it's funny and great. At a certain point, I think, it comes down to fifis. Like it always comes down to fifis, right? And people like Trump, they think he's charismatic. They think he's rizzed up. People don't feel the same way about Joe Biden. And a big part of that is because he, unfortunately, it's something that he can't really change about himself. And it's just that he is not exactly all there in the same way that he used to be. Joe Biden of 10 years ago clears Trump so unimaginably hard, right? He does. There was someone in the chat showed a earlier Brandon video. If you have it, let's look at it. Where was it? There was like a Biden debate from like 10 years ago. Who was it? Who linked it? I think it was like maybe Antifa secretary or something. I mean, even this.
But folks, let me tell you what I literally told every world leader I met with, and I've met them all. It's never, never, never been a good bet to bet against America. We have the finest fighting force in the world. Not only.
Like this is the beginning of the downfall too. This is 2016. He's like starting to get real old at this point.
Not only do we have the largest economy in the world, we have the strongest economy in the world. We have the most productive workers in the world. And given a fair shot, given a fair chance, Americans have never, ever, ever, ever let their country down. Never. Never. Ordinary people like us who do extraordinary things. We've had candidates before who attempted to get elected by appealing to our fears, but they've never succeeded because we do not scare easily.
Does anyone have, like, give me a new Brandon? If Biden's son didn't die in 2015, he probably would have been president and might have been heading out after 8 years by now.
Never bow. We never bend. We never break when confronted with crisis. No, we endure. We overcome. And
Look at all the self-hating Americans in the chat. I know. They should be big brain like you, 2012 account, and be an American that loves America and says America is great. I know. I mean, inherently a reactionary way to look at the subject matter. Everyone should be criticizing their countries endlessly. That is, in my opinion, a much more patriotic thing to do. It is your duty to want to improve your country. It is your duty to want to improve your home. It is your duty to want to improve your house. It is your duty to want to improve yourself. And yes, a part of that, you can extrapolate that same energy and that same principle all the way to the nation state. Okay? You can cope and you can claim that this just comes from a place of just being a self-hating American. But the reality is, you want America to be better.
Brittany's tour. She's down in, it's kind of warm in Brazil right now. Now, just to get here, Liberty and Bell had to beat some tough odds in competition. They had to work hard to show patience and be willing to travel over 1,000 miles. You could say even this harder than getting a ticket to the Renaissance tour or Brittany's tour. She's down in, it's kind of warm in Brazil right now.
You think that's the same guy?
Always move forward. That's why I can say with absolute conviction, I am more optimistic about our chances today than when I was elected as a 29-year-old kid to the Senate. The 21st century is going to be the American century. Because we lead not only by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. That is the history of the journey of America. And God willing, Hillary Clinton will write the next chapter in that journey. We are America, second to none, and we own the finish line. Don't forget it.
You think Trump is a threat to democracy? Sure. I mean, just as any Republican is, though. And I do think he's worse than the average Republican, too, in terms of, like, being a threat to democracy. All right. Speaking of threats to democracy, back on our daily celebration or our annual celebration of January 6th, the Insurrection Day, I have a very special guest here today. His name is Brace Belden of the True Anon podcast. He's here to shill. He's here to shill, baby, shill for a product that he can't even necessarily sell you because, hold on one second, I'm going to turn off my camera and turn it on in the chat, or turn it on in the Discord, Brace. I can see you loud and clear. 1 second. Wait, can you speak? Brace, can you hear me? I don't think you can hear me. Hold on.
Hassan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me, Brace?
I can't hear you. 1 second.
You can't hear me. Why are you saying you can't hear me when you should be able to?
Wait, why can't I hear you?
It's weird.
God, I fucking hate Discord.
I can't see you either.
Devices. No.
I can't see you anymore.
You can hear me, you can't see me.
Yep.
Can you see me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
but I can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
I mean, I can hear you. I assume you can't hear me. Change
Now
the
I
audio
can hear
source.
you. There we
All right.
go.
There it is. Okay.
There we go. I had to plug it in too. You can see me as well?
I can see you. I can hear you. We're ready. We're ready to learn about what you have to sell us today. Listen, January 6th is a bit of a holiday around these parts. Okay, it's the day that we attempted to take over the Capitol, and we almost saved democracy. We almost saved democracy. You know, us and the bold patriots. You know, this is a day where we mourn the loss of Ashley Babbitt, America's greatest hero. And from what I understand, you're a right-wing podcaster. I'm a right-wing Twitch streamer.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that you, as a right-wing podcast, True and On, created a board game to also celebrate January 6th.
This is insanely true, Hassan, and thank you so much for bringing that up.
Yeah.
First of all, I do want to start this out by saying that RIP to all who perished during January 6th,
for the cops.
2021.
Except for the cops.
RIP to them too. RIP to them too.
Okay.
I'm gonna say I'll say this. Since January 6th happened, I've come to realize that there's no wing flies alone. America needs both the right wing and the left wing. And not only does America need them, but I, as an independent small businessman who is also happens to be Jewish, I need both of those people. Despite my own personal politics being a mix of extreme right wing and extreme left wing, I need both of the moderate right and left wing people, as in people who have jobs, to purchase my product, which is a board game based on the events.
Well, we know leftists don't have jobs. Am I right, brother? Those commies.
That is true.
They're always at the government handout line, except for, you know, when I'm there getting my clearing my disability checks as well. But, you know, I hate big government.
They work at the Poly factory making new boyfriends.
Yeah.
I have in front of me right now. Right, what are you drinking?
This is a groundwork organic cold brew.
Yeah.
I like to get into the mindset of the liberal. This is a liberal drink, as liberal as it gets.
That is, yes, that is true. Can you drink liquor on stream? Is that like legal within Twitch?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't, but you could.
I know, but it would be sick. It would, and theoretically, it's very funny to me to imagine a Twitch streamer who, after years of doing it, is clearly just drinking more and more heavily on stream until they become totally incoherent.
Yeah, I mean, you're describing like a lot of older Twitch streamers in general, I think, probably.
This is the prototype. Well, it's not really a prototype. The prototype was much cruder looking. This is the factory prototype version of the Storm the Capitol board game. Now,
oh, brother,
I have received some feedback from some. Whoa, I love that.
Daniel Defense Mark 18, brother. Keep going.
Oh, nice one there.
This is my emotional support gun. I got real riled up when you showed me the board game. I needed to hold on to something.
First of all, this cocksucker weighs 6 fucking pounds, which is
hell yeah,
so much for a board game. It comes with, oh shit, I don't want to break it. 6 goddamn panels featuring the United States Capitol. 3 wings of it. I don't know if you can hear me because I'm using kind of a funky mic, but I'm yelling.
No, I can hear you. You got, so this basically the blueprints, right?
This is the blueprints.
Hell yeah.
This is the blueprints. There is not only the blueprints, but there is also, and this is for one of the players, a hostage map, which features a smaller part of the Capitol because there are hostages hidden throughout the board that you, as a patriot, must go and get because they're worth points. It also comes with a pencil to mark on the hostage map. So, Hassan, I don't know how many games you're used to playing here, but can you make out the squares on this fucking board?
I mean, not really. What do you?
Okay, I'll put it really close to the camera.
Okay. Oh, there's stuff in there. There's stuff in the squares.
There's stuff. Oh my god.
Oh, they look like tiles. They look like marble.
Precisely correct. They
Wow.
are marble tiles. So basically, you got all three wings of the fucking Capitol here. And your players start outside of the Capitol through a broken window. Getting in there, you roll dice for movement, and there's two different phases. You have movement and combat phases, and the goal of the game is to overturn desks, which on one side either have ballots, which are worth points, or they have hostages, which are also worth points, or they have nothing, which is worth no points. And the goal is to get 100 ballots, and once you get 100 ballots, you got to go to the fucking roof, and then you get picked up by Trump in the helicopter, and you change the results of the election. Or you play as the police, and the point is to kill the protesters.
Yes. Oh, God, that makes me so angry. Oh, that is what the cops do. Unless they're also patriots that are, coming to the Capitol.
Yeah, I feel like people didn't really get people have mixed opinions on the Capitol Police, I feel like, after January 6th, because it's like, people were like, oh, they just let them in, but it's like, dude, if I was them, I'd let their asses in too. See what happens.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they were more like, let's let them in, see what happens, or more because Nancy Pelosi refused to call the National Guard.
It's the Nancy Pelosi stand-down order?
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi stand-down order, exactly. It's all that's a really funny take, dude, because it's like I feel like half of the cops were there already, okay, protesting. Yeah. And then the other thing is like, yeah, cops don't like getting into trouble or hurting themselves, is very famously. Yeah. And if they're being overwhelmed, they're going to be like, yeah, no, I'm not going to fuck this. I'm not doing this. I'm not dealing with this. And
well, it's just you're also like a Capitol Police officer, so like you're kind of one job. Like your whole remit is like a building, and so like it's like if you were like, I don't know, like an NYPD officer and a bunch of people like invaded New York. You're like, well, you kind of gotta. That's kind of your time to shine, right there.
Well, for them, they're only used to beating up like disabled Code Pink protesters, like, you know what I mean, and like zip tying them and stuff. So all of a sudden, when they have like a bunch of drunk HVAC business owners coming in, hopped up on God knows what, they were using caps a lot.
I mean, I will say, like, it probably does rule to like, politics aside, to be able to do like Old Boy on a bunch of like Code Pink people in the fucking like in the halls of the Capitol once a week. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, because you see all like, there's like 200 people running towards me. I'm not gonna like try to stop them. I'm gonna be like, just go in, just don't hang Mike Pence. But I do think, I will say this, the board game takes no political position on either side. It is pro January 6th in the fact that like, I'm glad January 6th happened, because I thought it was fun.
Hell yeah, brother, me too.
It doesn't take a side whether it was good or bad politically. It is what happened, and you can recreate it. But I think the absolute best thing that could have happened at January 6th is if they had hanged Mike Pence. And I say that because I think that a lot of Republicans would have been happy that it had happened. I think a lot of liberals, if we're being honest, would have been happy that it had happened, and it would have been a really good piece of news for like a year or two. Oof. Like it would have really like had a lot of legs on it.
And Mike Pence would like be kind of regarded as a hero instead of like the loser who ran again this time around, only to like quit first before anybody else.
Yeah, like it's genuinely, and I say this with not an ounce of irony, hanging Mike Pence would have been honestly the best possible thing to happen to everybody involved.
And including Mike Pence, yeah.
Including Mike Pence, yeah. It would have completely secured his legacy. Now, there's no like Mike Pence fans out there. Obviously, he dropped out first. But like, it would have secured him. His name will be almost completely forgotten in like 10 years. But if he had been hanged, there were, first of all,
hero.
Hero.
Liberals would unironically regard him as a hero. I mean, they tried to do it. They tried to do it this time. They did the whole like book tour when he had his book, when he was like, I did the right thing in the right moment, you know?
Yeah.
I consulted Mother and I was like, I'm going to save democracy. And it's like, like they tried to do that to his image already, but it didn't work because like he didn't die. You didn't get hanged.
He didn't die.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is the lack of follow through on Trump's entire team, whether they were for Trump or against him, whether they were undercutting him or whether they were actually one of his true supporters, is pathetic. Because if Pence really wanted to just cement the legacy of those 4 years, he would have gladly offered himself to the crowd. Now he was like, oh, I thought the Secret Service agents were gonna like assassinate me in the limo. This isn't a fucking Tom Clancy movie. You would have been hanged in like a parking garage by like six guys, slowly strangled to death, because that's usually the hanging. You know, they don't really. You need the gallows for the whole snapping the neck thing. And so storm the Capitol lets you. The board game lets you take the shoes of somebody who could have hanged Mike Pence. And while we did unfortunately have to take, at the advice of lawyers, you are no longer allowed to actually hang Mike Pence within the game.
Wait, you had it originally?
Yeah, there's several things that I guess it's like legally inadvisable to sell for a profit.
Okay.
And one of those is hanging Mike
Luckily,
Pence.
you can still steal AOC shoes, right? And
you
smell
can.
it.
You can't. Yeah, there's
Seems
also
like that's an important component for a lot of the Patriots that were there.
There is the game is sort of all the pieces are a little messed up or mixed up right now. But you can get Pelosi's laptop. You can steal AOC's shoes. I believe the famous lectern, of course, and a painting. And those are all worth points as well. I will say this. The game is genuinely, January 6th trappings aside, the game is genuinely very fun to play. And I'm not really a board game guy. This is, in fact, one of the few board games that I have played within the last decade. And I have played it a million fucking times. It has been very fun. I'm not sick of it yet. And I came up with a lot of the rules. Our whole thing is like our marketing strategy here is we're trying to sell this to everybody. So I'm trying to get my goal today. In fact, what I was doing just before I came on here, so I'm trying to get on Fox Business with this.
Damn, this guy's good.